Is that fair enough or not? Is that fair enough or not?
Welcome to Audit the Audit, where we sort out the who and what and the right and wrong of police interactions. This episode covers the Fourth Amendment, private property, and officer trespassing, and is brought to us by Nikki Norris's channel. Be sure to check out the description below and give them the credit that they deserve. Before we dive into the interaction, I want to give a big thanks to the sponsor of this episode, Skillshare. Skillshare is an online learning community. Get a free trial for your personal growth today.
I bought the whole company.
Skillshare for sponsoring. Flathead County Sheriff's Office. 5th, 2020. A deputy with the Flathead County Sheriff's Office, who only identifies himself as Mark, approached the door of a private residence in Kalispell, Montana, to inquire about an individual named Eli Tully, who had been arrested on October 10th, 2020, and was being held in the Flathead County Detention Center on charges of assault on a minor. Seeing the officer's approach, property owner Jacob Norris exited the residence and met the deputy outside.
Hello.
How are you?
Not too bad. How about you?
Good.
Can I ask what you're doing here?
Yep. Give me 1 second. Dispatch that copy. Yeah,
This is
Mark.
just for, I don't deal with you guys, so.
Well, that's okay. I'm recording too.
Okay, good.
Yeah, I'm Mark with the Sheriff's Office. I'm looking for an Eli Tully by chance. Do you recognize that name?
He's in jail.
He's in jail?
Yeah.
Okay. So the reason I'm contacting, there's a white Ford Expedition down there at the school.
Oh, okay.
So it's parked down there. It looks like it's been there for a bit.
Yeah, he's in jail.
Okay. Do
Yeah.
you know who the car belongs to?
That's Eli's. How'd you get in?
Through the gate.
It was locked?
There was a chain on it, yeah.
Okay, it was just, all right.
Deputy Mark confirms that he entered the property through a gate that was secured with a chain, which might have violated the Fourth Amendment ban on unreasonable searches. It is well established that curtilage, which is the area immediately surrounding a dwelling, is entitled to Fourth Amendment protection from unreasonable government intrusion. However, in the 1984 case of Oliver versus United States, the U.S. Supreme Court determined that the same protection does not extend to, quote, open fields, and that warrantless government intrusion upon open fields is not considered an unreasonable search. In the Oliver case, the law enforcement officers, quote, drove past petitioner's house to a locked gate with a no trespassing sign, but with a footpath around one side. The agents then walked around the gate and along the road and found a field of marijuana over a mile from petitioner's house. The court concluded that, quote, because fences or no trespassing signs do not effectively bar the public from viewing open fields, the asserted expectation of privacy in open fields is not one that society recognizes as reasonable. Building on its decision in the Oliver case, the Supreme Court defined 4 factors to determine whether the property police officers enter is considered curtilage or an open field in the 1987 case of United States versus Dunn. The court held that, quote, extent of curtilage questions should be resolved with particular reference to the following 4 factors. The proximity of the area to the home, whether the area is within an enclosure surrounding the home, the nature and uses to which the area is put, and the steps taken by the resident to protect the area from observation by passers-by. In the Dunn case, the property in question surrounded a barn that was approximately 50 yards from a house and 60 yards from a wooden fence that was secured with a locked gate. The officers crossed the perimeter fence without a warrant, as well as several of the barbed wire fences and the wooden fence in front of the barn. The court determined that due to the barn's, quote, substantial distance from the house, among other factors, it was not part of the home's curtilage, and therefore, the officers' actions were not unreasonable. Given the highly fact-specific analysis that is necessary to determine whether the police may enter a locked gate, it is nearly impossible to predict whether a court would find that Deputy Mark's actions violated the Fourth Amendment.
Wait. Okay, I feel like my take is irrelevant here because I'm not a fucking lawyer, but I feel like if you have to move a chain to move a gate to get in, you're already well beyond your rights, no? That's weird. To manipulate and manually move things in order to get somewhere.
It's nearly impossible to predict whether a court would find that Deputy Mark's actions violated the Fourth Amendment. A judge would evaluate information about the location of the gate, the type of gate, and the type of lock, as well as any other relevant information to decide whether the entry was reasonable.
Is there an issue?
No. I just wondering.
Okay. So there was a note left on the console there.
Yeah.
That said somebody had effed up and the keys were in the by the gas cap and a phone in the console. I'm just making sure everybody's okay.
At this time, I don't want to answer any more of your questions. Just to be, you know, all legal and stuff. I don't know what this is about, so.
So I'm just trying to conduct.
You can contact the Flathead County Jail, and I'm sure he's in there.
Okay, so whose car is it?
Card?
Car. Whose car is it?
That's Eli's car.
It's not registered to him.
I don't know.
Okay, and who's Eli to you?
I don't answer any questions.
I don't understand what the deal is.
I'm not answering any questions without my lawyer present.
You're not under investigation for
Well,
anything.
that's good. I'm just covering all my bases, dot my I's,
Awesome,
cross my
buddy.
T's, you know
Awesome.
what I'm saying?
Yep, I do. So here's the thing, man. So I'm just trying to investigate and make sure that whoever that car belongs to is okay and not in need of help.
Okay, you can investigate it other than my property.
Do what?
You can leave now. Please.
Mr. Norris asks Deputy Mark to leave his property, which is well within his rights to do. Under the knock and talk doctrine, police officers are entitled to knock on an individual's door without a warrant to ask questions, just like any other citizen could. In the 2013 case of Florida versus Jardines, the U.S. Supreme Court explained that the, quote, implicit license to knock on an individual's front door typically permits the visitor to approach the home by the front path, knock promptly, wait briefly to be received, and then, absent invitation to linger longer, leave. While the case did not explicitly state that individuals can ask police officers to leave their property, the context is clear that, just as you could ask a private citizen to leave, you could also request a police officer without a warrant to do so. The Supreme Court also looked at this issue in the 2011 case of Kentucky versus...
I think the cop here, in my opinion, so far, maybe I'm misreading it, it looks like he's well-intentioned and doesn't want trouble, but who knows?
King. In this case, the court held that, quote, when law enforcement officers who are not armed with a warrant knock on a door, they do no more than any private citizen might do. And whether the person who knocks on the door and requests the
you can't be sure, but I think they could have just towed it or impounded it easily. I think if the car is there for a certain amount of time and it breaks a rule or a law or it's a traffic violation, you could just fucking tow that piece of shit.
Opportunity to speak is a police officer or a private citizen, the occupant has no obligation to open the door or to speak. And even if an occupant chooses to open the door and speak with the officers, the occupant need not allow the officers to enter the premises and may refuse to answer any questions at any time. While the decision once again stops short of explicitly stating that individuals have the right to ask police officers to leave their property, it does clearly state that officers who knock on doors without warrants are acting on the permission to knock that is granted to all citizens, and that individuals are not required to open the door, speak to the officer, or allow them to enter. Given this information, it is only logical that an individual such as Mr. Norris could ask a police officer who had entered his property without a warrant to leave.
If you would like to just...
I don't understand what your problem is.
No, I don't have a problem. I just don't like people coming into my property when it's a locked gate.
I didn't know
right
if you
now
had
you're,
horses here.
You're trespassing.
Okay. So I'm here conducting an investigation.
Okay, you can investigate, but not here.
Okay, and this is your property?
I don't answer questions.
All right, man.
Have a good day.
Is your name Jake?
I don't answer questions.
Jesus, man. Unbelievable.
Thank you.
Yep.
I'd like you to leave my neighbors alone, please.
Okay.
Hey, Skip, don't answer any of his questions.
So, yeah, there's a car that's parked down there that has a piece of that comes back to an Eli totally at this end.
Okay. You know, the camera's getting being a dickhead, but he's right. If he does this, he's not right anymore, though.
So, what's that? That's not me. No, I understand that. I'm just making sure everybody's okay, but he obviously doesn't want to help me out in any way. So, do you know
because they could use the course of the law and saying that he's interfering with his job, right? And he's interfering. Literally, that's how it works.
God, you guys are putting me on the spot.
I don't. You're trespassing right now. I'd like you to leave my property,
I'm not
please.
trespassing.
You came through a locked gate, and this is private property. It's marked all over the place that
Perfect. Thank you.
Private property.
Okay, call and file a report. Sorry. You don't want to answer any questions either?
What's your name and badge number?
What I'm trying to figure out is just whoever
The
has
guy
the car
doesn't
is
live here
okay.
anymore.
Okay, and he's currently in jail?
As far as I know.
Okay.
Yeah.
And it's his car?
We don't answer any questions.
Okay.
Have a nice day, officer.
I'll leave when I'm done.
Although Mr. Norris makes multiple requests for Deputy Mark to leave his property, Deputy Mark refuses to leave until he is quote-unquote done. Section 45...
Wait, I don't get it. This guy, isn't this guy's property though? This guy? What about that guy?
Deputy Mark to leave his property, Deputy Mark refuses to leave until he is quote-unquote done. Section 45-6-203 of the Montana Code states that, quote, a person commits the offense of criminal trespass to property if the person knowingly enters or remains unlawfully in or upon the premises of another.
He just lives there. It's not my private property. Well, I don't get it.
As used in this statute, Section 45-2-101 of the Montana Code defines premises as, quote, any type of structure or building and real property. And Section 45-6-201 states that, quote, a person enters or remains unlawfully in or upon any vehicle, occupied structure, or premises when the person is not licensed, invited, or otherwise privileged to do so. Section 45-6-201 goes on to clarify that, quote, privilege to enter or remain upon land is extended either by the explicit permission of the landowner or other authorized person, or by the failure of the landowner or other authorized person to post notice denying entry onto private land. Once granted, the privilege may be revoked at any time by personal communication of notice by the landowner or other authorized person to the entering person. While it is not clear from the language of the statute what types of land requires notice denying entry to be posted, the Supreme Court of Montana determined in the 2020 case of City of Bozeman.
What about the land renter, though? Does that guy have no rights when it comes down to his land? Because I don't get it.
Versus Lehrer, that, quote, all indications are that the posting requirements for land and private land in the legislation were intended to obligate a landowner to clearly communicate a closure of raw or unoccupied land that recreationalists may seek to access, in contrast to other premises that had previously been defined in the criminal code, and which is still so defined.
I know that.
There is no basis to conclude that the legislature intended to impose a requirement upon property owners in residential neighborhoods to post notice in order to deny or revoke a privilege to enter their property. Given this interpretation, it seems likely that a court would conclude that entering Mr. Norris's locked gate would be trespassing, although it is difficult to predict with any level of certainty without more information about the nature and location of the gate and the lock. However, even if a court decided that entering the gate was not trespassing, because the privilege to remain on the property can be revoked at any time, failing to leave after being asked to do so would almost certainly constitute trespassing.
Okay.
Fair enough.
Appreciate your time, sir. Okay. And what's this guy's name?
None of your business.
Yeah, it's up to him.
Gotcha.
Sorry.
Okay. Well, if I was living here, I'd probably find a new place to stay because this is ridiculous. So, have a good day.
You too.
Okay, this is harassment now. I'd like you to go.
Yep, it's harassment.
xQcL.
What's your name and badge number?
I don't want to give it.
You don't want to give it to me.
Yep. I don't
Okay,
give
well, that's
information.
weird now. Okay, well, that's fucking stupid. Of course, he has a failure to identify as a police is fucking terrible. One, he identified himself as police, but now when he's asked, he should answer the whole thing. Should.
Trespassing through a locked gate.
Could be fake cop for all you know. You're not wrong. It's not illegal. Well, I mean, illegal. Yeah, they have to identify. Yeah, they do 100%.
56 months petite.
The cop has to identify.
xQcL.
It pretty much is illegal. I'm pretty sure. Yeah, it is.
After refusing to provide his name and badge number to Mr. Norris, Deputy Mark drove off the property, stopping in the driveway at least once on his way out. As of the date of this
Happy to
episode,
kneel, my
Mr. Tully is
handsome
still
best
detained.
friend.
How?
You're such a good friend to me, Felix.
I'm not your friend, mother sucker. I play games and watch videos on the stream for content, mother sucker, and I'm not your friend, yo. Sorry about that. That was rude for no reason. Actually, it wasn't, man. I'm not your friend. Fuck you.
In the Flatland County Detention Center. It is unclear whether Mr. Norris filed a complaint about the incident or if he is pursuing legal action against Deputy Mark. Overall, Deputy Mark gets an F for entering private property without a warrant or exigent circumstances, refusing to leave the property after being told to do so by the property owner, and for becoming angry at Mr. Norris for invoking his right to remain silent. If Deputy Mark had done his due diligence as an officer, he would have known that the individual he was looking for was in a nearby jail, and this entire interaction could have been avoided. The deputy's investigation of an abandoned vehicle simply does not justify his decision.
Wait, I don't even agree with this, actually. Wait, I guess I don't want to be a bootlicker, but apparently the vehicle wasn't registered to the guy in jail. So how could he know in the first place? If he ran the plate and didn't come to the owner who's in jail, how the fuck was he supposed to know?
Thoughts on
The deputy was looking. If Deputy Mark had done his due diligence as an officer, he would have known that the individual he was looking for was in a nearby jail, and this
Yeah, wait, it doesn't make sense.
entire interaction could have been avoided. The deputy's investigation of an abandoned vehicle simply does not justify his decision to enter a locked gate to question citizens, and his refusal to leave demonstrated his disregard for Mr. Norris's rights. Another serious concern with this encounter is the deputy's angry reaction to Mr. Norris invoking his right to remain silent. Too often do members of law enforcement interpret a citizen's decision to remain silent as some sort of personal attack against the officer, but the Fifth Amendment is an arbitrary tool that is designed for situations exactly like this one. If Mr. Norris had provided the deputy with any information at all, he could become an element of a criminal case against his friend, and the right to remain silent was designed to shield individuals from incriminating themselves. While it may be true that Deputy Mark was carrying out a legitimate investigation, any information that he acquired through an illegal act would likely be useless in a courtroom, and remaining on Mr. Norris's property after being asked to leave served as nothing.
Yeah, I think all this is correct. You guys are right. I just feel like I don't think he's investigating to a crime or something like that, or whatever. I feel like, maybe I'm wrong about this, I feel like initially it was to help, not to hinder.
More than a demonstration of power. Mr. Norris gets an A+, because although it is unclear whether he filed a formal complaint against Deputy Mark, he remained calm and collected throughout the entirety of this encounter, invoked his rights peacefully and respectfully, and challenged the legitimacy of the deputy's conduct without becoming rude or hostile.
Fair enough.
I can't say enough good things about how Mr. Norris handled this interaction. And it's even more impressive that he is not an established First Amendment auditor. As mentioned before, Mr. Norris was well within his rights to tell the deputy to leave and refused.
How's the chat racist? One guy said something and he's banned already. The guy is banned already. How is the chat racist, you degenerate?
To answer his questions, and his ability to do so in a composed and professional manner is admirable. I commend Mr. Norris for having the courage to challenge the deputy's conduct, and the tenacity to invoke his rights accurately and efficiently. Be sure to give Nicky Norris's channel your support and let them know that I enjoyed this video.